030, flying to Air Devil, runway 24, clear for takeoff.
Roger, Delta 252, turn right heading 090, climb and maintain 4,000 feet, clear for takeoff.
Breeze 135, 58, 60. Port side, high, I'm coming down hard.
Roger, 4, 3, 2, 1, liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Drew Irmischer, welcome to the Aviation Bug. B2 pilot, thanks for joining us today. I appreciate it. I'm going to read a little thing here that I wrote up just to kind of set the tone a little bit of who we're talking to. So today's guest is somebody very few people on the planet have ever been, and that's just a B2 Spirit pilot. He's flown combat missions over 9/11 time span, spent over 2 decades inside some of the most advanced aircraft ever built, and held leadership positions for the safety, standards, and operations of America's stealth bomber force. Again, welcome. Before I dig into your background, I want to kind of set the stage again. So there's fighter pilots, there's transport pilots, and then there's a very small group of people on the planet who have flown the aircraft designed to not just fight, but to literally alter the strategic balance of the world. The B-2 isn't an airplane most people ever get close to, even at air shows. It's something most pilots will truly not understand because they just don't know anything about it. It's this aura, in the sky. You didn't just fly it, you instructed in it, you evaluated others in it, you wrote the standards, you owned the safety programs, and ultimately ran operations for multiple squadrons. That's an extraordinary level of trust that they've put in one person. Amazing. Before we get started, I got some 10-second answers. All right, I'm just going to throw you a few questions here, and whatever comes to mind, just be approximate if you have to. Total flight time?
Around 3,700 hours.
All right. Pilot ratings and type ratings?
So pilot ratings, I was an aircraft commander in the B-1.
Okay.
Aircraft commander in the T-38. Evaluator and instructor in the B-2. And then a first officer in the MD-88 and the A350 at Delta.
Gotcha. All right. First airport you ever soloed from?
I did not fly until I joined the Air Force. So my first solo was at Air Force pilot training at Columbus, Mississippi.
Okay. Hardest airplane you've ever flown?
I would say the T-38.
Okay. Easiest airplane you've ever flown?
The A350.
All right. Hardest systems to learn?
I think the A350 systems have been the hardest for me, only probably because of the situation. In the military, they beat systems into you.
Okay.
Like through the academic training and everything. It's much more robust than the systems training that you get at the airlines.
Gotcha. What was hardest system to ever learn?
I think just in total, the ones on the A350, and partially because we don't fly it that often.
Right.
You only probably fly it 2 or 3 times a month.
Gotcha. Scariest moment you've had in an airplane?
It was the first time that we flew night low level in the B-1.
All right. One aviation moment you'll never forget. Just bam.
It was waiting to take off on night 1 going into Afghanistan after 9/11.
It's good. Dumbest thing you've ever done in an airplane?
So one time I was refueling with the B-1, and the air refueling receptacle in the B-1 sits right on the nose of the airplane. So it sits out in front of the windscreen, and the boom just did not seat properly. We couldn't get it to seat properly in the receptacle. So you're getting so much fuel coming off of the nozzle that you couldn't see out the windscreen.
Oh, wow.
So once you connected with the boom, the only thing you could see were the director lights. So as you got closer, you'd see a red light that you were too close. And as you moved back out, it would turn green if you were in the middle, and then you'd see a red light at the back. So the only thing we could see were those lights. You couldn't see the tanker, which was probably 30 feet in front of you.
Jeez.
But, everything worked out. But if there had been one hiccup in the process, we easily could have run 2 airplanes into each other.
That's insane. Dream airplane to fly.
I think it would be the P-51.
P-51 Mustang. Nice. Love that. Biggest aviation regret?
I think it would be the fact that I waited to go to the airlines.
Okay.
And so
the whole seniority thing?
Yeah, it really had to do with the seniority thing. I waited a couple years just because I wasn't really sure it's what I wanted to do. So I would say that's probably the biggest regret.
Gonna haunt you till retirement, right?
Well, it will right now, because right now at Delta, I will never get below 4,000 on the seniority list.
Okay.
Whereas if I would have gone 2 years prior, I would get to like 1,000.
It's interesting to talk to all the military guys, the ones that knew about getting out early to start that seniority number, the ones that were in the Guard. They kind of had it really figured out, get that seniority number and still get to go fly military stuff. And then the ones who made the decision, I want that assignment, or I want to do this, I want to do that. And then the airlines have hired so much post COVID era that 2-3 years of that special assignment that you wanted could cost you an unbelievable amount of everything, right? It's just crazy. And so it's interesting you say that. Pilot watch of choice.
So I have a Garmin Phoenix that I wear all the time now.
Okay.
And I never thought that the flashlight feature would make that big of a difference. But I use the flashlight on my watch almost every day.
All the time. I love that.
Now, I will say that, in the B2 community, we've ordered watches all the time. We used to be able to get a really good deal from Breitling.
Oh.
And they would make a B2 special watch at a super discount, and you never, as you're going through the military, some guys have the foresight to buy those things at the time, but I never did, and that is one thing that I will probably regret later on.
Right. The nostalgia of it all. Yeah, I get that. All right, good stuff, man. All right, so let's start. Where'd you grow up? Where were you raised?
So I grew up in upstate New York, about an hour south of Syracuse, in a small town near Watkins Glen, New York. So right at the end of Seneca Lake, one of the Finger Lakes.
Okay. You ended up being up there thinking, I'm going to be a pilot later?
No. So I joined ROTC in college just to get college paid for. I really didn't know anything about flying, had no aspirations to be a pilot. I joined ROTC to get college paid for. And then at the end of your sophomore year, for Air Force ROTC, they send you to a field training, which at the time was 6 weeks long. I'm not sure exactly what it is right now, but at this field training, it's similar to basic training. There's 20, 30 guys in a one bay, sleeping area. And there was 5 or 6 guys, and all they talked about was flying.
Oh, really?
And it was the guys that I hung out with, and so that really kind of started to pique my interest. So when I got back to the detachment in my junior year, then I applied to pilot training to see if I could get picked up for the Air Force to send me to pilot training.
Gotcha.
And the timing, it was really just good timing for me. Because the Air Force was coming out of a super low point and they needed pilots. So when I got a pilot slot in 1997, if you were medically qualified, they sent you to pilot training.
Okay. So timing was everything.
Yeah.
Kind of, that's aviation in general, right?
Yeah.
Timing is everything.
Yep.
Opportunity comes with timing. So I read that you got a environmental engineering degree. What is that? What is an environmental engineering? Why? What is it? Why did you get it? And was it hard?
So I enjoyed doing outdoor stuff. So I grew up hunting and fishing.
Okay.
And that's kind of what steered me towards environmental engineering. When I decided on that major, I really didn't know what it was, right? But I knew I wanted to be an engineer.
Okay.
And it sounded like it would be a cool degree. I did not spend a lot of time researching colleges or degrees. I applied to a couple different colleges. Colleges in the Northeast at the time were much more expensive than colleges in the Southeast. So it was cheaper for me to go to school out of state in North Carolina than it would have been in state in New York. So that's kind of how I ended up at North Carolina State.
Okay.
And then the environmental engineering degree at the time was a brand new degree for them. And it was very similar to the civil engineering degree with a few extra courses. We took some waste management courses and more hydrology, how the water flows courses than just the straight civil stuff. But for all intensive purposes, it was a civil engineering degree. I would say at the time it was probably a little bit easier than the civil engineering degree because it was brand new. They were trying to stand up the courses. So there was some flexibility there.
So environmental engineering, was there any application to what you did with nuclear weapons?
No.
Zero. No transfer of knowledge in anything that you had to learn.
No, I mean, other than the basic engineering type stuff.
Aspect of it.
You know, the math and the science. And
you said waste management, and I'm thinking like, okay, nuclear waste, blah, blah, blah. No, not at all.
Nothing.
Interesting. So you being bit by the aviation bug, would you say your aviation bug, you being bit, was opportunity, friendship, and then was there a point where you're like, I love this. Like, this is super cool. I'm glad I fell into it. Glad I met the guys I did. You know what I mean? Like at some point, because it's not an easy road, right? So
yeah, I would say that didn't really happen until I was flying the B-1 in Idaho. So, you know, having no flying experience, showing up at Air Force pilot training, like that was a difficult year for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't do particularly well, especially the first 6 months in the T-37, because there were plenty of other guys that had a lot of aviation experience. And it just took me some time to catch up to those guys.
Gotcha.
And then, so I never really felt comfortable, I would say, in an airplane until I had been flying the B-1 for probably 6 months in Idaho.
And then that's when it clicked.
And that's when it kind of clicked. The squadron in Idaho was a very close-knit group. The flying up there was unbelievable. So that's when it really kind of all came together, I would say.
So you'd already been T-37 and T-38 flying before the B-1?
Yeah, so I went T-37 and then I flew the T-1.
Oh, the T-1, which is like a Diamond jet or something, right?
Yeah.
Beechcraft.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you went on the B-1 path.
And then I went on the B-1 path.
Super interesting. Did you know, like, the significance of the B-1? Like, you hadn't really known about it prior to joining the military, right?
So I did not know about it prior to joining the military. When I was going through T1 training, one of the instructors was a prior B1 guy.
Okay.
And like he shared a lot of stories about the B1 with us. And it just happened. We were the first pilot training class that bombers started coming out of the T1 track. So they only did it for a short period of time. Normally the bombers came out of the T-38 track and they were trying something new. I think it only lasted a year or two.
Really?
And then it went back.
So again, the timing of things is what set you on that path.
Yep.
Did you select it? Because don't military guys, they write down, you know, blah, 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 blah. So did you select, I want the B-1 first, last? I mean, was it needs of the military? How did that work?
So most of the airplanes in the T1 track are the heavy airplanes. So the B-1 was probably, I think, in the middle of the pack for me. I still had like the C-17 ahead of it. I had the C-21.
Really?
The little Lear jet.
Lear.
Because those planes were stationed overseas, and I really wanted to go overseas.
Wow.
And then the B-1 was kind of middle of the pack.
That is so interesting. Gosh, that's so interesting. So you go to B1 school. When did 9/11 happen in the time span of when you finished your B1 training? And like, take me through that process and then tell me about it.
Yeah, so I finished B1 training in 1999 and then moved up to Mountain Home, Idaho.
Okay.
And got there, I want to say, the summer of 1999. And then had about, a year and a half before 9/11 happened.
And where were you 9/11? Where were you that day?
So I was actually in my apartment in Boise when it happened. And I remember being there with my fiance, now wife at the time, and just watching it on the TV. And then maybe an hour or two later, we got a call, hey, you guys need to come in. And then that happened on the 11th. We didn't leave for probably 2 weeks as they were trying to spin up the plans and everything and decide who was going to go. And then, it was every day. We weren't really sure when we were leaving. So you'd come in thinking you were going to leave to go over there, and they'd send you home. And then you'd spend another night, and you'd say goodbye to your loved ones again, and then go into the squadron and nope, not leaving today, go home. So that was a little bit trying on, the families and everything, because you'd say goodbye thinking you were leaving, not knowing how long you were going to be gone. And then you'd come home that night, and then you'd do the same thing again the next night.
And that went on for a couple of weeks.
It really only went on for probably 3 or 4 days before we actually left. It took a couple weeks for them to kind of put everything in place to where we were actually going.
So you're in your apartment, you see the buildings fall. In your mind, was it 100% I'm going?
No.
Not at all. Didn't come to your mind.
No. At the squadron level, you don't know what B1 squadrons are going to get called up to go, and it's kind of luck, it's timing,
right?
Who gets to go first. We had a smaller squadron in Mountain Home. It was only 6 airplanes. The squadrons at South Dakota and Texas were much bigger squadrons. There were 12 or 18 airplane squadrons.
You just have no idea.
Yeah, so you really have no idea. And what they ended up sending was they sent our squadron and then half of a squadron from Rapid City. And we kind of joined up to make a expeditionary squadron.
Wow. And this is where, going back to that little 10-second question, this is where it gets real fast.
Yeah.
And take me into your mind space of, are you thinking, who are we fighting? What kind of systems do they have to shoot me down? What's going through your mind? What's it going to look like? Did you know until you got there? You had trained for a year and a half, but was it just, I'm just going?
Yeah, so we deployed to a small island in the middle of the Indian Ocean, Diego Garcia. And so we got over there and we still had probably a week and a half before we started flying combat missions. So once we got over there, then, we started to get all the intel updates. Hey, this is kind of what their actual surface to air threat looks like. But you still don't really know what it's going to look like. They had a small surface to air threat, really no air to air threat. They had some AAA. So we felt pretty confident going in, but it's still, fear of the unknown. You just don't know what you don't know.
Is it totally different, when you're actually faced with it, than compared to I trained for this, I know what capabilities are, but now I'm literally going in. This is real.
Yes.
This is not training.
Yeah.
This is real. What if?
Yeah. So a lot of the training stuff, you try to pretend
Sure.
as much as you can. But it is a different feeling. It's a different mindset, and the biggest thing is you just don't want to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want to be off timing or, put the bomb on the wrong target,
Now, you're how old?
Right now I'm 50.
No, then, during that.
I was 25.
So 25, I mean, we've all been to McDonald's and Starbucks and they can't make change at 25. You're flying a B-1. Are you a commander at this time? Are you flying the airplane? There's two. How many pilots are there? Two?
On the B-1, there's two. I was an aircraft commander at the time, but all the airplanes that we sent for the 3 months that we were there had an instructor on it. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Is that because of the mission of the real life type thing, or what do you think the reason was behind that?
I think it was. We had plenty of instructors. So it just made sense to send an experienced instructor, even with an aircraft commander.
I gotcha. So how many missions did you fly? What was it like? I just remember watching TV, me sitting on the couch watching TV. B-1s are just decimating the mountains. They're just pounding them, absolutely pounding them. That was you, I take it.
Yep.
So what was that like? How long did the missions last? How much ordnance did you deploy? Like, what time span before they're like, all right, you guys are done. We got enough. You dropped enough. We pounded them.
So we would take off out of Diego Garcia. It was normally a 16 or 17 hour mission.
Wow.
It was about 8 hours to get up in country, 7-8 hours. And then you'd be in country for about an hour or two. If you ended up flying to the very northern part of Afghanistan, then it could be 19 or 20 hours. But most of the missions were about 16 hours, and you were in country normally an hour, maybe 2 hours. And we would fly every third day. So you would fly one day. After about 16 hours, you'd have the next day off. And then the third day, you would either go work in the mission planning cell, or you would go pre-flight an aircraft so that you knew it was ready for the crew to fly it the next day. And then you would fly the day after that. It was, for a pilot, it was kind of an ideal scenario. A lot of the ancillary duties that you had, were gone, right? So all you were focused on was flying or
prepping the jet. So you're flying up there, you're delivering what kind of bombs?
So most of the time we were delivering unguided 2,000-pound bombs.
Okay. Sometimes, though, you would deliver some guided?
Sometimes you would deliver guided weapons, but most of the time it was unguided. Was
mission planning long?
Mission planning was not nearly as long as it is in the B-2.
Okay.
It was maybe an hour or two. Most of the mission planning was done by the navigators, the WIZOs in the B-1.
Three of you then?
So there's four.
There's four.
Yeah, there's an offensive systems officer, navigator, and then a defensive systems officer, navigator. The navigators at the time were certified in both positions. So those two guys would be the ones that actually built the route, built all the targets, put in all the target coordinates and everything. So their mission planning portion was longer than ours as the pilots, just because they were doing all the hand jamming into the computer and everything. So was everything high level bombing? Was it none of that terrain following stuff that, the airplane's capable of? No, everything was high altitude bombing. Normally it was in the high 20s, low 30s. They did do some low altitude passes just as kind of show of force type stuff, but we never bombed from low altitude.
Can you see the bombs going off when you let them go? Can you look down and see?
You can see the explosion.
You can see the explosion.
Yeah.
And then is that process of coming in, is that process all right, bombs away, boom, we're out of here. Like you fly for, 8 hours, you're finding your thing, you're figuring it out, whatever. And then you're just like, this is a 20-second process. Bam, 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 bam. And then you're gone.
So sometimes it is. But sometimes they would have us in a holding orbit up there, and we would be talking to guys on the ground, and they'd be like, hey, we need 4 weapons on these coordinates. And so the guys in the back, the navigators, would build those targets, and then they would give us a run-in heading, and we would fly the run-in heading. We'd release those 4 weapons, and then we'd return back to the orbit.
For some more instructions.
Yeah. And you talk to the guys on the ground, they'd be like, hey, okay, now we need another 4 bombs, 2,000 meters to the north of that. And so then they'd figure out the math and they'd build those targets, and then you'd attack it again.
Does anything click in your mind after you first go into combat? Like it's different than you thought it'd be, or there's a frame of mind. Like I just, you've been training, and now it's really doing it. You're really delivering and destroying things. Like,
I think in Afghanistan, the fact that like there was really no air threat, and once you got to see it the first time that there really was no significant air threat, you were in a more relaxed state. The first time that you're in there, you're always looking around, always looking for a missile coming through the air. And after you had done it once, you've kind of seen what's out there, and it puts you in a little bit more relaxed state.
Yeah.
Until you were on the bomb run or getting, ready to release ordnance. And then you're back to kind of hyper vigilant, making sure that everything is going the way it's supposed to. And
so B1's never been shot down, right?
B1 has not been shut down.
Okay. Is the B1, because it's like 70s technology, right? As far as like the beginning of it.
Yes.
It's 70s. So it's super Mach 2 type airplane, right? And maybe not quite that fast.
Not quite that fast.
But it's super fast and been around a long time. And obviously it's gotten upgrades over the last 50 years of being in existence. Do you feel pretty confident in the B1? And this is going to parlay into a B2 question at some point, but that we got some defensive things on this airplane that, I feel pretty good about, as long as they work. Is that how it goes in your brain? Is that what it goes in what you know?
Yes, it is. In the B1, it is. The airplane does have some defensive capabilities. It can go above Mach 1, so you can outrun some things. And the other thing is you can drop down low level.
Yeah.
And it has the terrain following radar, so you can turn on that terrain following radar and kind of hide in the ground clutter.
That's pretty cool. When you transitioned to the B2, was that because I want to? Is it because the B1 went away? Why switching from B1 to B2?
We were in Diego Garcia for about 4 months. So in February, end of January, beginning of February, our squadron returned to Mountain Home. And shortly after that, we found out that the squadron was closing. So the Air Force was getting rid of a third of the B1 fleet. So we were losing a bunch of airplanes. Our squadron in Mountain Home was closing. And so at the time, the squadron leadership was like, it looks like the B1 is probably going to go away. We're losing airplanes. We don't know how much longer the airplane's going to be around. We think it is in your best interest to go to the B2.
Okay.
It's a newer airplane. It's not going to go away. And for your Air Force career, it's probably the best decision. And then personally, I did not want to end up in West Texas. So the only 2 squadrons that were going to be left, or bases that would be left, were Abilene and Abilene, Texas. For the B1. Okay. Would be Dias in Abilene, Texas, which is like 3 hours west of Dallas. in Rapid City, South Dakota.
And so you're married at this point, and you're like, okay, family matters.
And my wife and I did not want to end up in West Texas, so we decided to apply to the B2 program. At the time, you submitted an application. They brought you out for interviews. They had you fly the sim, interview with the ops group commander, and then they decided who they were going to hire.
When you were in the B1 and you decided, I want to go to the B2, you interviewed, what were some of your questions? Like, what are your questions about the B2 that you had in the beginning?
So the B1 was not a nuclear capable asset at the time. So
that's since changed though, right?
So it's no longer, it is not a nuclear capable asset anymore. So the B2 was, so that was kind of the big thing. Like, how does the dual role going to affect everything, you know, because you have to maintain your conventional certifications, and then you also have this nuclear piece, which you have to maintain that also, you know, so how do those priorities compete? How much extra time is it going to take? That was really kind of the big questions that I had.
Interesting. Did you have the question of, I'm going to be flying this slow airplane into enemy territory in a much more, maybe, I don't know. I just think of like flying over Afghanistan and shooting and dropping bombs is different than like using the current day. I'm flying into Iran and they have some serious capability. Like, this is you cruising along and hope everything works, right? I mean, is that?
So, yeah, I don't think that ever really crossed my mind. It may just have been me being naive and, you know, not taking that into consideration, you know, but at the time, like, all of the unclassified information about the B2, you know, was that, you know, it had never been shot down. There was no real chance for it to get shot down.
Okay, you use the word classified and unclassified. How much information changes from classified to unclassified over time? In other words, the B2 started flying in, like, I don't know, late 90s, till today. Have things become unclassified that were classified?
Not really.
Not really. Here's a question. There's 100 cookies in this jar. How much unclassified cookies can you not tell me?
I mean, probably 75.
Really? Oh my God.
I mean, so you can talk generalizations,
Yeah.
you know, that don't bring it to a classified level. You know, when B2 guys go out and brief, you know, if you're going to your kid's school to give a briefing about, hey, what do I do? You know, there's an unclassified briefing that you give about the B2. If you go to brief guys that only have a secret clearance, then, you know, there's a little bit more that you can tell them. And then, you know, it just kind of goes up from there.
It's just crazy. It's just insanity. All right. I got some more good questions coming up because I want to dig into that a little bit more. You got quite the resume. B2 instructor, evaluator, pilot, chief of standards and evaluations for the 509th Bomb Wing, director of safety, director of operations for multiple B2 squadrons. That's a thick resume there. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Like, when I think about it compared to the airlines, you know, you're a line chick pilot, you're an instructor, you are a standards guy, you're in, you know, safeties. You've got all these things. Why you? Why they pick you? What's the deal, man? What's the deal?
So I think it just kind of goes through a normal progression.
Okay.
Right. So you get to the B2 community and, you know, you're a co-pilot for probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and then you upgrade to aircraft commander. You're aircraft commander for 6 months to a year. You upgrade to flight lead. Another 6 months to a year, you upgrade to instructor. And then I moved over and started teaching in the schoolhouse So I was teaching the brand new guys that would come in for B2 initial qualification training. And then kind of at that point, after you've been an instructor for 6 months to a year, normally there's kind of a split, right? There's the guys that go to weapons school to become the weapons experts. And then there's guys that kind of take the other path to chief of standards and evaluations or safety path.
I gotcha.
And so at the time, I kind of ended up on the standards path. So they needed somebody to be the chief of stand eval. So I did that for a year or two. And then I ended up going off to school. So I went to the Navy postgraduate school for a year and a half. And then I did my staff tour at Air Combat Command Safety.
Where's that?
In Langley, Virginia.
Okay.
So then once you kind of get that safety experience, then it kind of leads you back into
a command position,
the safety positions.
Okay. So when you go do your staff tour thing that you guys talk about, what is that? Like, you're not flying, right?
Yeah, it's more of an office job, right? So I went to the Air Combat Command Safety Office. And so in that safety office, we managed all the safety investigations in Air Combat Command. So at the time, there were no bombers in Air Combat Command by the time I got there. And it was mostly fighters and the RPAs, remotely piloted aircraft. So the MQ-9 and the MQ-1, which they crash those all the time. And so every time they crashed one, we would have to stand up a safety board. So
figured out what happened.
Yeah. So from the staff position, we would have to call out to all the wings to find out who was available to go investigate these mishaps. And then we would kind of manage the mishap investigations. If they needed help, they would call back to our office and we would coordinate with an engineering team or something else. Maybe the safety center to download the cockpit data recorder or voice recorder, just get the board, whatever they needed. And then if they were going to brief the 4-star, Air Combat Command 4-star, then they would come up to our office. They would give us the brief. We would kind of run through it, give them pointers. Hey, maybe fix this, maybe fix the, don't talk about this, and get them ready for the brief. And then we would sit in on the brief with them to the Air Combat Commander.
Did you ever have that time where you're like, okay, I used to watch cartoons, I didn't do my homework, and now I've got this whole thing on my shoulders. And you've got a lot of people probably looking at you that want answers, especially when things go wrong, right? Was this Drew's fault, or is this Drew's fault because someone else did it that's under Drew? I mean, is that more stressful being in that environment at Langley than it is flying a mission in an airplane? Like, what is harder, more stressful?
I think on the staff, it's more stressful because you have less control. There are more entities that you don't have control over. Yet if you're flying the airplane, then like you have control. Even in a 2 or 3 person cockpit, where you're using CRM and stuff, you still have more control over the situation in the inputs than on the staff. There's so many entities that are intertwined.
Moving pieces and things. When that B2 crashed in Missouri on takeoff, I think it was, right? A PIO incident or something crazy?
So that actually happened in Guam.
Oh, it happened in Guam. That's right. Remember the video. So where were you?
So I was at Whiteman in Missouri at the time.
Okay.
And I remember getting called into we stood up a crisis action team,
What was your position at this point? Were you in charge of anything?
I was working as the chief of standards and evaluations.
Okay. All right. This is good. I like where this is going. So this happens. Call comes in and you're like, holy crap. Are you serious? Like, You sure it was a B2? Like, who is this? Who was it? Did you know the guys?
Yeah, I mean, the B2 community is small.
Okay.
So you know all the other pilots.
Okay. I don't remember. Did they eject? Did they?
So they ejected at about 150, 200 feet.
Okay. Were they okay?
Yeah, they both survived. One guy was injured, when he hit the ground. But the other guy didn't really sustain a whole lot of injuries. I mean, they were super lucky.
And what happened
to
the airplane? Why did it crash?
So there's an accident investigation report, which is available.
So this is classified.
So the accident investigation report is not classified. It's an unclassified report. And it had to do with moisture in the pitot-static system.
Yeah, that's all coming back to me now. So just a technical issue that caused it to happen. Now, from a standards, was it VFR out?
It was completely VFR.
It was completely VFR. Do you look at this and say, like most pilots, Monday morning quarterback, may look backward and say, oh gosh, these guys, this shouldn't have happened. Like, yeah, there was a technical problem, but that shouldn't have been the result of the technical problem. Like, did anything change in training and the way that they're taught to fly the airplane? Any new procedures that, because this is stuff that happens in the airlines, something breaks, something goes wrong, and then there's a new procedure so that if it does go wrong, you have a procedure that, well, the result's not going to be bad because we have this procedure now because of this broken item. That happens all the time.
Yeah. So anytime there's a aircraft mishap where they lose an airplane, then the Air Force will do a safety investigation. So the sole purpose of that safety investigation is to find out what happened, what went wrong. They take no punitive action against the pilots for the safety investigation, and the safety investigation is not releasable to the public.
Okay.
And the reason it's not releasable is because they want the pilots to be 100% truthful into what happened, what they saw, what they did, whereas the accident investigation is releasable, and it's more similar to the NTSB.
Gotcha.
Whereas the safety is completely contained within the military, and it's only released on a need-to-know basis.
Integrated, just like the airlines.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so the safety board will come up with recommendations. A lot of those recommendations will get input, and really that's where the different training or different procedures will kind of flow from.
Gotcha.
Is from that safety recommendation. And so, the guys that were on the safety board kind of came up with some, and you'll reach out to the wing and say, hey, this is kind of what we have. What's your input on these new recommendations? Whether it's a checklist change, a change in training, a change in just regular procedures.
Did anything change after that as far as operation of the B2 or emergency procedures or anything? So
there was some maintenance stuff that changed, how they worked on the systems and how they documented stuff. From the aircrew perspective, they really increased the systems information that was available to the aircrew to kind of explain how those air data systems were integrated and how they worked, and what the computer logic was. But as far as the procedures, not really any of the procedures changed. It was more of an information piece than a procedures piece.
Have they done anything differently? Have they been privy to more information? Like you said that they just, later on, you guys were given more information about systems. Would that accident not have happened even though the mechanical error happened?
I don't think so. I think that's what the accident investigation board kind of came out with. What the results from that was there was really nothing that the aircrew could do.
Wow. Interesting. That's a big loss. Aren't they like $2 billion a piece or some crazy number like that?
Yeah.
Wow. So if there's a mechanical problem, I mean, I don't know this about the airlines. about the military. If there's a mechanical problem, can the military or the government say, okay, Mr. Manufacturer, you owe us money because like we have this hull loss because of your broken stuff, not us? Does that happen?
I think that there may be a process for that. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, because it would be a sue. It would be sue if it was to happen, corporately or whatever to a manufacturer.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Okay, most dangerous moment in the B2 that you ever had?
The most dangerous in the B2. So I was flying one time at night, and one of the gearboxes failed. And when it failed, it just took a little while for the generators to kind of figure out the logic to figure out. So like the whole cockpit went completely dark.
Really?
All the screens went dark, everything for about 15 or 20 seconds.
Completely dark.
Completely
Was it
dark.
a moonless night or?
There was very little light. I mean, it was.
Do you have a HUD?
We do not have a HUD.
Okay, so you had nothing.
Nothing.
All right. What was that like?
It was
Standby instruments?
I mean, you have standby instruments.
Okay.
But they weren't illuminated because all the lights were out.
So nothing.
So you basically have nothing, right? So like for the first 5 seconds, you're trying to figure out like exactly what's going on.
Right.
Right. And then you're like, okay, don't touch anything, right? Because we don't really know where the horizon is right now. And then right about the time that you're, okay, now let's start to do something, everything started to come back on.
No kidding. So were you up high?
Yeah, we were at about 29,000 feet.
And it just went dark completely?
Yep.
Golly. And so was that something that should have happened? Or was that another anomaly?
It was just a little bit of anomaly. I mean, it's just like any other computer. And the computers in the B2 were like 1980s technology, right? So it was like a 486 computer, right?
So everything's slow to crank back up.
Yeah, it just takes a little bit of time for the system to kind of run through all of its checks and everything, and everything came back up.
Wow. All right, so you have to choose one aircraft over another aircraft. B1, B2. What do you choose?
So the B1, hands down, way more fun to fly.
Really? Because it's fast?
It's fast. You fly the B1 low altitude. I mean, you can't beat flying 500 feet above the ground, going 550 miles an hour. The B2 is more of a information management flying, kind of like the 350. Mm-hmm. It's not a lot of stick and rudder skills. The B2 is very easy to land.
Oh, really?
Unless there's a crosswind.
Okay.
But normal flying, it's very easy to land. It almost lands itself. And the hardest thing is forcing yourself not to flare. Because, once you get into ground effect, the entire airplane is a big wing. So if you're used to flying a normal airplane, then you want to flare, right? And as soon as you go to flare, the airplane balloons up.
Crazy.
To like 30, 40 feet.
Does it really?
Yeah.
So you just come in and are you at 2 or 3 degrees coming in?
All you're doing is arresting the
rate of descent. That's it.
Yep.
Because you really feel the ground effect. The whole thing is just a flying wing, literally. Yep. Now, if you're coming in a crosswind, is it a stick?
It's a stick.
So it's a stick. Are you cross controlling? Are you like, what's the process on why is it so difficult?
There's 2 totally different techniques on how to land in a crosswind.
Really?
In the B2. So one is very similar to the 350. Like you just leave the crab in all the way out, and then at about 50 feet, then you kick the rudder in, bring the nose straight, dip the wing just a little bit, and let it touch down.
Is it fly-by-wire? So you keep it in? Do you keep the stick in? Mm-hmm. Unlike the 350?
Yep.
Okay.
And you do have a drift indicator.
Okay.
So it'll tell you if your nose is 6 degrees right.
Gotcha.
And our limit was 2 degrees. So you had to be within 2 degrees to land.
And is the pilot monitoring telling you that?
So the other guy is calling out, like 1 degree right.
Oh, really?
1 degree left.
Is it a go around if you're not prior to touchdown? If you're not, it is. Huh. Interesting. What was the limit? What was the crosswind limit on that airplane? Do you remember?
I want to say it was like 30 knots.
Okay. All right. And who made the airplane?
It was made by Northrop.
Northrop, completely.
There were other pieces. They made the airplane, but they had all kinds of subcontractors that.
Do they share engines with any other airplane?
I'm not 100% sure what. I know they do, but I'm not sure which ones.
Is it a underpowered airplane if you're at fully max gross weight?
Yes.
Totally underpowered?
Yes.
Really? Okay, so how high would it fly?
So.
Is it a classified answer?
No, if you are, a lot of it depends on gross weight. So,
well, of course, right?
Like if you're taking off at max takeoff gross weight, then you're probably only going to get to 29,000 feet.
Okay. And if you're real light at the end of a flight, you just want to fly high?
You can get up to the mid 40s.
Okay.
So
feels stable. I mean, it just seems like, is it one of those planes where you'll never fly anything like it because it's a big wing and there's so much lift? Or is that why it could be so underpowered because there is so much lift?
I think so.
Really?
I say it's underpowered, but it flies fine on 3 engines.
It does.
It'll even fly on 2 engines. So, I mean, from an underpowered perspective, I think it's more, hey, you can't get that high.
When you're heavy.
At these gross weights.
And what would it weigh? Like how much would that airplane weigh?
So like max takeoff, I think was like 335. Then once you got into the air, you could refuel and get up higher than that.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
But that was just the max takeoff. And then really you wanted to ingress or fight at around 270,000 pounds. Because at 270,000 pounds, you could get up into the 35 to 39,000 feet. And that's really where we wanted to employ the airplane at.
Okay, so talking about the B2, you get into the airplane like underneath, right? And when you, I have no idea what this looks like. So take us into the airplane. The ladder drops, you climb in. What are you seeing? Like how many steps do you go up?
So it's probably about 12 to 15 steps.
Really?
Yeah, it's almost like climbing up a ladder. Once you step inside the airplane, there's a chemical toilet that's right in front of you.
All right. A little flushy one, just like the airlines.
Yep.
Okay.
No, it doesn't flush. It just has a knife valve.
Ah, so it's like a motorhome.
Yeah.
Gotcha. The motorhome. You probably bought it from Winnebago.
And then you turn to the left, and that's where the cockpit is.
Oh, okay.
So there's a seat on the left, seat on the right. Controls are identical, essentially, on both sides, except the gear handle is on the left-hand side. But there's 2 sticks, there's 2 sets of throttles.
So why is the gear on the left-hand side? What's the rationale behind that? So if you're flying the airplane on the left hand, you're bringing the gear up.
Yep.
That is so interesting. And it's 4 engines,
4
right?
engines.
Is it, are the seats like a fighter pilot seat, or are they squishy like an airline seat? Like what is it like? Because you're in here for 18 hours, you said? 19, 20 hours?
Yeah, so they're regular ejection seats, so they're not squishy. They're super hard because you don't want them to compress at all. If the ejection sequence happens, they don't really recline at all. They're super uncomfortable.
Big time.
Yeah.
Do you have a place you can stretch out on the airplane?
So once you get up into the cockpit and you close the door and pull the ladder up, then there's enough room to stand behind the 2 seats.
Okay, once that door is...
Once you close the door.
So if you need to get out of the seat, use the head. I just need to stretch my legs. Can you lay down?
There is enough room behind the seats to fit a full-size military cot. So there's enough room to lay down back there.
So that's where you guys would typically like get some rest if you needed to.
Yep.
Is it a fully autopilot right after takeoff type airplane where you can just turn on an autopilot and then it's going to navigate? You got to do your things to make it go where it goes, but
you can totally turn the autopilot on right after takeoff, but it does not have auto throttles.
It does not.
No.
Wow. And there's no auto land.
There's no auto land.
Wow. And then let's see, how big would you say it is in the cockpit? Like compare it to something that I would know, So it's a little bit smaller than the A350. Okay.
Not quite as wide. We have computer screens on the left and the right-hand side. There's not as much room like fore and aft. Like you can't really slide the seats forward and aft, but it's comfortable enough. And then when you eject out of it, is there something popping out of the way, or do you bust through some glass, or what? So there's 2 hatches, one on each side, and those get blown off, and then the seats go through the holes. And then off you go. Yep. I gotcha. What's it like to taxi? Is there a tiller? No tiller. So it's connected through the rudder pedals? Yep. Push a button? Just hold the button. That's how a Lear was. Hold the button. And is it easy to taxi? Is it like, what's your view like? When you look to your left, like, can you see your wingtip or? Yeah, so you can see the wingtip. It's difficult to tell like spatial relationships based on, where things are located versus the wingtip. We've only taken the B2 to like military bases, and for the most part, all kinds of space. There's supposed to be, painted lines that, hey, if the equipment is behind this line, then there's so much room and you're not going to hit anything. Right. But it's pretty easy to taxi. The turning radius, I wouldn't say is great, but you don't need it. Yeah. Doesn't really matter. Okay. So you're tasked to be able to deliver nuclear weapons as well as conventional weapons. How much of your life is spent training for both of those? Like I think about just movies I've seen and things, in movies, it seems like if you know anything about anything and there's a movie or a TV show, they get it wrong. That's what it generally is, right? If you know anything about anything. So were you completely 100% prepared to drop conventional weapons in the B2 because you did it in the B1 or not so much? And then obviously because it was a nuclear, capable airplane, now you got a whole another thing to learn about, right? So how much training is there in regards to that? So the initial training in the B2 it's supposed to be 6 months. It normally gets extended out to about 9 months. And it fluctuates. When I went through, it was 12 flights. It gets decreased to 7 or 8 flights sometimes. And then, if the quality of the product that's coming out of the training pipeline, the wing doesn't think is what it needs to be, then they may bump it back up to 9 or 10. Okay. A lot of it will depend on if they're able to get air refueling during those training sorties. Like if you take off and the tanker cancels on, your first 3 flights, then they're probably going to need to add additional flights in. I gotcha. Just because the air refueling is one of the most difficult things that you do in the B2. Oh, really? Until you get comfortable at it. A lot of guys, like if you come from the B1, the refueling receptacle was in the nose, and in the B2, it sits back behind the cockpit. So like you're much farther under the tanker, and it's just uncomfortable. And then new guys, it takes a little while to just see the closure on the tanker. Once you get a hang of it, then like anything, you learn the language, and then it's just like no big deal. But you need to be able to see it, a few times before you get comfortable. So that really drives the training. As far as the weapons aspect, in the B1, you're flying the airplane, but you're not actually delivering the weapons. it's the navigators in the back are the ones that are delivering the weapons. In the B2, you're the one that is actually delivering the weapons, right? So you're the one that is doing the radar aiming, if that's the tactic that you're employing, or you're the one, that's pushing the button to put the bombs out. So that training, it doesn't really translate. The basic weapons knowledge of what the weapons are and what their capabilities are translates, but the actual procedures were not nearly the same.
Gotcha.
And as far as delivering a nuclear weapon, on the B2, it's just a dumb bomb. It's no different than dropping a unguided conventional weapon as far as the actual nuke, delivering the nuclear weapon.
So the nuke doesn't have a whole GPS type?
No.
Really?
No.
Is that seems odd to me, but is it, why? Because it doesn't need it? Because it doesn't need to be that precise, basically? And so it adds to the complexity?
I think, initially, I think they are moving, as technology catches up, they will probably put some kind of guidance into nuclear weapons. But, when they were initially developed, that's how they were.
I gotcha.
That's how they were.
Kind of makes
developed.
sense.
Plus, if it's other than maybe the first weapon that goes off, there's probably not going to be any GPS.
I guess that's true.
There.
Yeah. That's you got to think about what happens after that first one. True. All right. So this little thing is more of the psychological. You saw Dr. Strangelove. It's the best movie ever. Slim Pickens is the best ever. And so there's so much funny stuff about that movie. And then they twist it's the most serious thing you can even imagine. They're very, very serious and, so forth, so on. When I think about submarine guys like you, anything that has to do with nuclear, right? And the safeguards that are in place. There's, of course, the safeguards of the technology. All the technology that has to take place, using Dr. Strangelove, and the codes come in and all that magic, right? But then there's the human aspect of it. There's Drew up there. I want to know, the viewer wants to know, do you have to get psychologically checked more than a normal guy? If I was an A-10 guy, or I'm a F-22 guy, or I'm a B-2 guy that's carrying nukes, I'm kind of thinking as a normal dude, this guy better have his freaking head screwed on right. And are they checking him out? Do you have to get more physicals and more mental checks and put you up to are you telling a lie? The lie detector test? What's that about? Is there anything to that?
So there are procedures in place. You go through an initial checkout, which they review all of your medical records. You do an interview with the commander. I'm sure that they look at your financial records to make sure that everything is in order. And then there's a command aspect within each squadron and within each wing that kind of monitors that program. There's much more stringent medical requirements. There's only a small list of medications that you can actually take and still be on that program.
I gotcha.
So they may de-cert you, if you have to take a certain medication, they may de-cert you for a week or two until you come off that medication. Just that temporary time that you're not certified to fly nuclear weapons. And so there is a pretty good process in place to monitor that stuff. Now, it does create an enormous amount of paperwork and stuff for the medical group and
I bet
the command team. But
so you're probably being looked at and you're not even knowing that you're being looked at too.
Yeah.
I would assume whatever 3-letter agency is in charge of that is looking to see all the time what's going on with this person. I would guess. Is that a bad guess? Is that a reasonable guess?
I would assume that they do periodically look through that. In the B2 community, there's also the security piece to it too. So we're exposed to SCI material. And so there's other agencies that do those background investigations. And I'm sure, they're kind of hand in hand. They may not necessarily work together, but if you get flagged for some kind of security for SCI type stuff, then it's going to...
What's SCI stand for?
Secret compartmental information, I think.
Okay. All that 3-letter stuff.
Yeah.
So your knowledge of nuclear weapons versus the delivery of them, 2 different things altogether. You don't need to know necessarily where they give you like a little video you watch and say, this is a nuclear weapon, this is how it works, blah, this is blah, blah, blah. I mean, it just doesn't matter, or does it matter?
So you do get academics on how the nuclear weapons work, but at the basic pilot level, delivering the weapon, like you don't need to know how the weapon actually works.
Gotcha.
Functions. There are a lot of procedures and safeguards, to get the weapon from a inert state in order to get it ready to release armed, to function as a nuclear weapon. So you do need to know those procedures and kind of, the errors that can occur within all those processes. But the actual function of the nuclear weapon is not.
So let's go back to Dr. Strangelove in talking about, like, for those who've watched it, they know the process of you've got material that you're looking at that's on, paper, let's say, and then you have electronic material that's coming in. And of course, that's old B-52 technology stuff. But is it the same type of thing? Like, do you have packets of information that is sealed until it's time to do your thing? And then there's electronic information that's coming up? Is it preloaded into the airplane? Like, am I going into the 75% cookie thing?
No. So there are nuclear codes that are sent, electronically to the airplane, and you have the sealed materials. And so you have to open the code books and go through the code books and decode the message and then do what it says. And it may tell you to open something and validate.
So it's just kind of like that's where in Dr. Strangelove, like, that's legit. Like, all that stuff is legit.
It is.
Now, in Dr. Strangelove, they messed up, right? Something happened. There was a error, blah, blah, blah. They couldn't reverse it. So some Pickens ends up dropping his, riding the bomb down. I would think that couldn't take place because that's kind of a little bit scary, right? But can you envision some sort of an issue where, all right, we just crossed the line, we're going? Tell me about that.
I think in a nuclear scenario, I don't think you can really prepare yourself for that, right? Because mentally, at least, you know that, like, if you're actually getting that message, then what you're coming back to is probably going to be non-existent.
Yeah.
From what you left,
Right.
So I mean, you can hypothetical all the time, but, like, I think that's going to be something that in the moment, you really have to deal with, because it's a realization that, hey, if I go forward, I'm probably not getting back to where I came from for at least probably 20, 24 hours. And when I get there, there's probably not going to be much left of.
That's a daunting thought, really. I mean, that's just like, it's a crazy thought. Like, that movie, as funny as Dr. Strangelove is, it takes you into that serious point of, like, this is no joke. And these guys are doing their job. But yet, what if, bad information gets sent to you? Is it essentially impossible?
I think that there's so many checks and balances that for an error to reach you on the go side, it couldn't happen.
Because now there's also different modes of communication that you have, it's like we got 4 toys here to have us play the game, and now we have 8 or, whatever, right? So it'd be less. It's just one of those things that you think about, like, number one, these guys, they're just normal human beings. What's going on in their lives? You want them to be double checked, right? Triple checked. And then what can happen that goes wrong, right? I mean, it's crazy. Now, during the whatever it was, 50s, 60s, those B-52s would be on alert. I've flown with guys in the past, early in my career, and they're just flying all the time. It's like there's always B-52s in the air. I'm sure that's not the case now because of the alert level that we're under, unlike the Cold War. But for the guys who practice now, like the Iran thing, that was conventional, of course, but how much practice are they doing on those, nuclear runs, unlike the past?
So, I mean, it does fluctuate. Early on in my career, we would do at least 4 nuclear generations a year.
Okay.
To where you would actually spin the airplanes up, put them on alert. The crews would be sitting alert on base. You do a couple practice response to the airplane, where you're driving across the flight line as fast as you can, running up into the cockpit and saying, yes, we're ready to go. Versus, when I got out in 2024, we were doing it 2 times a year, maybe once a year. So the level has definitely gone down as far as the training aspect.
I gotcha.
For the nuclear stuff. And with the technology and everything, from an air crew perspective, like all you want is a red light, green light, right? So like we have all these code books, and air crew spends an enormous amount of time practicing and decoding. And, once a year, every 18 months, they come out and do a test to, make sure that you can actually do it. And that's one of the most stressful times is when you're going through that inspection and doing the aircrew testing, and all the aircrew really wants is a red light, green light. Right?
Yeah.
Am I going to drop the weapon or am I not going to drop the weapon?
Right. Huh. That's interesting. Is it one of those things like the airlines that the longer you're away from it, the more you become a little bit more gray in like what's the process, and that those training aspects are pretty good. Like the more we do, the better we're going to be at them. The more you practice it, that's kind of the same. I guess that's just kind of normal human way we learn and do things is practice. It's interesting. So using the Iran strike as an example, they left from Whiteman and they flew over, did their business and flew back, right? So that was a super, they said, 36-hour mission. How many times are you going to refuel?
I think those guys refueled 5 or 6 times.
Okay. All right. And so they're literally using that cot to get rest on the way over, just swapping in and out. Okay. Now you are in a stealth airplane. You're flying into Iran. If you were to right now be the guy that's doing it, are you turning on your stealth, or is it always stealth all the time? Do you do things with the airplane as you get to where you need to get to make yourself, okay, you can't see me?
So like the stealth aspects of the airplane are there when you take off.
Okay.
Right. So a lot of it has to do with the skin of the airplane. And there's no imperfections. Right. And so you have a clean airplane when you take off. Right. And then once you take off, you don't know what actually has happened to the skin of the airplane. Right. Like maybe you've flown through a thunderstorm and maybe now there's some imperfections.
Almost like the space shuttle coming in. How many tiles fell off that we don't know about?
Right.
Okay.
So there is that aspect of it. But then like as you get ready to ingress whatever country you're going into or combat zone you're getting ready to enter, then there are certain things that you turn off. Like we have a mode 3 squawk on the airplane, which you have on most of the time.
Sure.
Right. But obviously if you're going to go in country, you're going to turn that off. And so you're going to turn off most things that emit anything off the airplane, just because any signal that comes off the airplane can get picked up by something.
So that brings me to this question. What about a missile? They see you, up comes a missile. Is that all visual, or do you have equipment on board that is detecting that, even though it's not sending something out in order to detect it?
So the B2 has systems that can detect radars looking at them.
Okay.
So you don't actually see a missile. Most of the time, you won't actually see a missile.
You're going to know it because your electronics are going to tell you that it's coming your way. Yeah. Interesting. I love what you can't tell me, because there's all this stuff going on in your mind right now.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me. It's crazy. It's crazy. Gosh. I got to trick it out of you. I don't want to trick it out of you, actually. That would be bad. Okay. Longest mission you've ever flown in the B2 yourself?
The longest one I've flown is about 24 hours.
Man, that's a long time in that airplane, the way that you made it sound uncomfortable.
So really the biggest thing, compared to flying airlines or the A350, the noise level in the cockpit of the B2 is on average, I think, a little over 100 decibels.
What?
All the time. So it's not like you can take your helmet off, take your headset off, and just kind of relax, talk to the guy next to you. So that wears on you. And then the pressure altitude also is higher than it is in the 350. So you get dehydrated unless you're drinking all the time. And it's just way more taxing on your body than it is flying in an airliner.
I mean, I think it's like in the low 70s on the 350. So it is screaming.
Like you have to wear hearing protection in the cockpit,
or it's just going to make you crazy. So the engines, I guess, are just right there. They must be close.
They're up behind you. So,
wow. Is the technology on the F-22 the same as the B-2 as far as the skin and all that kind of stuff, as far as making it not seen on radar? I mean, it seems so, it's really incredible technology, because you've got this massive bat wing that you're looking up at, right? That would, if it didn't have material on it, you'd be like, gosh, that's just so easy to see on radar. Do you have 100% confidence as you're going into Iran? 100%. They're not going to see me. No way. No way.
No, you definitely don't.
You definitely don't.
No.
So you know the guys that went in there?
I do know most of the guys that went in there.
Okay. So have you talked to them?
I've talked to one or two of them.
And are they like, all right, I'm crapping my pants as I'm going into Iran, because you just never know. That's the way I'd be looking at it. But I don't know what type of technology there is. And even if there is, like you said, did we hit a bird, a big giant bird that took off a foot chunk that we don't know of?
I think that the guys would have been a lot more nervous had Israel not gone in there before and taken a lot of their surface to air stuff out.
I gotcha.
So Israel really did us a favor. And the other thing is, Israel went in there during the day and they didn't have any of their airplanes shot down.
Oh, so you kind of knew
so
in
that
advance.
that builds confidence that, hey, maybe their systems are not quite as good as we thought they were. And so I think they were a lot more confident going in than what we had trained to, a couple of years ago.
I gotcha. Now, prior to going in, so you're flying, how many ever hours to get to bad guy airspace? Do they send fighters up to take a look at the airplane?
No, they don't send anything up to take a look at the airplane.
To make sure it's all intact and that there's a big crack or anything, nothing like that, huh?
No.
Okay, interesting. So there's 19 right now, I think I read, there's 19 B-2s. And in World War II, at the end of World War II, we had like 4,000 B-29s. 19 now. How do you wrestle with that aspect? Is it because of the cost that they just don't need that many? Is it because it's conventional versus this? I mean, it seems like 19 is just such a small, very small amount.
I think that the 19 number, I think it's less than, the Air Force would want. Like, we wanted to buy 100 of them. And the cost just precluded that.
I gotcha.
We're supposed to get 100 or 200 B-21s. Hopefully we end up with that many, and the numbers don't get cut. And that's part of the reason why the cost of the B-2 is so high. You say it's a $2 billion airplane, but if you had made 100 of them,
it'd be way less.
It would be way less, just because the development cost was so high. It does lead to issues within the B-2 fleet, maintenance issues, because you have such a small number of them. It's harder to maintain that small number. And it is more of a strategic asset. You may use it for the first week of the war, maybe the first month, but then you're not continuing to use that asset, right? Like, once the threats are down and taken out, then you use the B-52, the B-1, who don't need to get in without being seen.
I gotcha. Huh. Interesting. So the B-21 is the replacement for the B-2?
I don't think it's an actual replacement at this time. I think it will complement. I think the B-2 will stick around for a little bit longer, even after the B-21 comes online.
So that's what I was going to ask. What capability is lost with the B-21 that the B-2 has?
The B-21 is a smaller platform. I'm not 100% sure what ordnance it can carry and how much, but I don't think it can carry the same amount as the B-2.
Because I remember when the F-22, the F-35 came out and it had all this electronic capability that the F-22 didn't have, but yet the F-22 does things the F-35 can't. Is that probably going to be the same type of thing where it's it's just a different platform? Yeah, it does this really well, but it can't do this. And that's why it will seem to stick around.
I think so.
Yeah, interesting. What do you think out of, this is more of a personal question, your job affecting your family life, both positively and negatively? You've been with the airlines for a while, so kind of finish up the question with that. What's it like to get with the airlines on the family versus being in the military, being in this community, the B-2 community? You have kids. You didn't have kids in the beginning, B-1, no kids, and then you transition. So what is that community like for, let's say you're talking to military guys and they're trying to decide, I don't really know what kind of airplane I want to fly. I'm going to join the military, but I want to know what's it like in my family life, or what does that look like for the bomber community?
So, it kind of comes and goes. When I originally joined the B-2, we were not deploying. We weren't going anywhere. It's still hard. The B-2 is still hard on your family. I mean, you work a lot of hours.
You do.
You do.
You're at the base just a lot.
You are. And so, you're not home a lot. And normally that's, when you're starting a family. So it's harder on your spouse because she's taking care of the young kids all by herself. It probably affects her career if she wants to have a career, because you're gone and you're not around a lot. So it definitely takes a lot of sacrifice from military spouses in order to make it work. I didn't join the airlines until my kids were basically in college. And so I think
they're pissed now. They're like, Dad, what the frick? Now you're around all the time.
That's right.
What the heck?
That's right. So, I mean, it's a different aspect, Currently, you also make more money in the airlines, so you can definitely give them more opportunities, I think, than you could have if you stayed in the military. I have 3 kids in college right now. So, the cost of college is significant. But I do think that the airlines offer opportunities to provide for your family that the military doesn't necessarily provide.
What is the best thing to do in the military and have a family life? Instructor?
To be honest with you, I think it would be in the Air National Guard versus the active duty.
Yeah.
Just because in the Air National Guard, you have a lot more control for the most part over your career and whether or not you go on a deployment or whether or not you're going TDY somewhere to some conference or something. You know, active duty, you really don't have any say in that matter. I think with the Air National Guard, at least with my experience, you can tell them, hey, I don't really want to go on that deployment. And they understand.
I gotcha. That's interesting. So, Air National Guard, number one, are you glad you went into the military? Like, let's say you were to do it over again.
Yeah, I'm 100% glad that I went into the military. I mean, I think I have had a lot of life experiences that like I never would have had if I wasn't into the military. And I think a lot of it is with the military is the people that you meet and the people that you work with. The military is a much closer knit organization on a whole than the airlines.
Right.
Right. Like you fly with guys and you may see them on a trip once every 2 or 3 months,
right?
Maybe only once every 6 months. And some guys, you know, you get to the hotel and they just go to their room. They're not hanging out. So it's definitely a change. Whereas in the military, you know, there's usually always somebody on Friday afternoon that wants to go drink a beer in the bar or just hang out in the bar for a couple hours.
Right.
You get to know each other a lot more. You spend more time with families, mostly because you live in the same area. It's just a more close-knit community.
What was the most challenging time in your military career that you had?
I think the most challenging was when I got to the B2, just because my first daughter was born then, and I was working all the time.
Yeah.
You know, when I was with the B1 in Idaho, I wasn't married yet, even though my fiance was living with me for the second half of the time there. And I was gone probably just as much, but, you know, we didn't have kids. So I think that was kind of the most difficult time.
Being a military spouse is pretty hard if you're not the one in the military, huh?
Yes.
I mean, seems like it's very difficult. Has being a B2 pilot changed you as a person or changed your political views in any way because of the mission of the airplane?
I don't think it has changed me as a person or really my political views either. You know, I will say that most of the folks in the military have conservative political views, but there are other folks that don't within the military. So I do think that you see both sides. So I wouldn't say it has really changed my views in either aspect.
Did your aviation career go the way that you thought it would? You started off, joined ROTC, got into T-37, transition T1. Did you say, yep, I'm going to put this amount of time in, probably fly this? Like, looking backwards.
I don't think I had any idea at the time, like where I wanted it to go or how I thought it would end up. I definitely didn't think that I would spend 20 years in the military. You know, I thought I would serve my 8-year commitment and then go find something else to do. And I just kept doing it until it wasn't fun anymore. I probably would have gotten out of the active duty in 2009 had not they sent me to the Navy postgraduate school.
Really?
But, you know, that was an opportunity that I couldn't turn down to go live in Monterey, California for 1.5 years with my family. Had plenty of time off to explore, all up and down the coast of California. So it was a great opportunity. But really, that's what kept me in the military.
Was that one decision right there?
Was that one decision.
Did you think about getting out?
I had the guard unit that is at Whiteman right now had just moved from St. Louis to Whiteman. Some of my friends were getting out and joining that guard unit. So I considered it. I had one foot out the door, and then I got that assignment, and I couldn't really turn that down. So
That's interesting. Super interesting. Well, it's been an honor chatting with you about this whole world that is rare and unknown. Thanks for coming in and talking to us about this. It's been super interesting. I could probably spend a lot more time digging in deeper about things, but this has been a cool look. So thank you for this interview. I appreciate it.
no problem.
Thanks, Drew. See you.
Thanks.
All right, brother.